What's up, it's your boy Cintron, coming back at you with another reaction video, and I kid you not, it's my real name. And I'm looking at, yeah, boy. No, not looking at your boy. What the hell am I talking about? Anyways, this will be interesting, because I mean, this is a good question that I've never had answered. I haven't read it in a book. I mean, I might have read it, might gloss over it, but I forgot the answer. So don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you vibe. Let's get into it. Kids. Don't join a gang or a clique.
At the conclusion of the Second World War in Europe, you'll know that Germany was divided up into 4 occupation zones, along with Austria. Yet, when Japan was defeated and the Pacific theatre of the war came to an end, it wasn't divided into occupation zones. Instead, it came under the near-exclusive domain of the United States.
Damn.
But why? Why wasn't Japan divided into occupation zones? So, before getting to the why, you should know that the original plan was to in fact split Japan into 4 occupation zones, much like Germany, although this time there was to be no France. The north of Japan was to be occupied by the USSR, the south by the British, this area was to be occupied by the Republic of China, and the rest was to come under the control of the United States. As you'll know, this never came to be, and the primary driving force behind this was unsurprisingly the Americans, who nobody argued with because of their unique nuclear arsenal. So, as far as US forces were concerned, they'd done the bulk of the fighting against Japan and saw no reason why they should be forced to share their defeated enemy. Many in the US government felt that the rest of the Western allies, Britain, France and their colonies, had done little to help and frankly weren't in the financial position to occupy much more than they already were.
Pause. So, I mean, like, it wasn't altruistic. It wasn't like, oh, well, let's not, divide these people even further. They're just looking at a point of ownership, which is, fits the colonization mindset, colonialism mindset. Not divide and conquer, go out and conquer. Resources, assets, even in intellectual properties, or whatever it may be. If you can find it, you own it. So, I mean, just to monopolize the market, they saw the potential there, and kind of wondering why we're allies. I mean, you would think more Korea would be more our enemy. I mean, you would think more, Korea would be more our enemy. I mean, our ally, but it's kind of inverse going there as far as the people go. Hermit Kingdom, different time, different story. All right. Anyways.
It also won't shock you to know that the occupation of Germany and Austria was already fairly tense, especially between Soviet and Western soldiers, and there was no desire to repeat that in Japan. Furthermore, Truman was a fundamental opponent of communism, and so he refused point-blank to give any part of Japan beyond South Sakhalin to the USSR, since he was unsure if they would ever leave or whether or not they would start spreading communism there. He also flat-out refused to deal with the French, since their role in the Pacific theatre was minimal, and Truman considered it a big enough favour that France would be allowed to take its colonies back. So the Soviets were keen on having a part of Japan under their own occupation because why wouldn't they? While Stalin was happy to regain South Sakhalin, he was annoyed that the USSR wouldn't be involved with the occupation, since he felt that even if Japan was disarmed, it would continue to be anti-communist, which, to be fair, it was. But the USSR was the only power that the US wouldn't budge on because of the new Cold War. As for the Republic of China, it wasn't particularly interested in occupying mainland Japan, since it would take money and resources which it couldn't spare, especially when considering the momentarily halted civil war. Chiang Kai-shek was mostly concerned with getting the island of Formosa back along with Manchuria, and he did get the first one, so beyond that there was little more that he wanted. Now, it shouldn't surprise you that Britain was always happy to do a bit of occupying, was very keen to be given a piece of Japan for itself, although most of the actual occupying was to be done by Australian and Indian troops. Which is why, when the Americans did occupy the islands, Britain was given some areas of control and was placed in charge of overseeing Japanese disarmament. Now, America's original suspicions would end up being correct, and Britain would quickly leave Japan because it was expensive and they were broke. And thus, until 1952, Japan was under the sole occupation of the United States, with the rest of the world having little to no say at all. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and a special thanks to my patrons.
Alright, but yeah, just to dive into, deeper, is interesting. I mean, like, with everything happened afterwards, and America had a great opportunity to shape Japan in its own image and the way it wanted things to go. And you see the nation has become, where he was able to bounce back after the war and, shoot off into the stratosphere as far as economics goes. Like, I think it was, the 3rd largest GDP or something like that in the world after the United States, and I forget which other country comes next. China. But yeah, it's amazing, and that recovery, Japanese people in their fighting spirit. But it's become. I mean, I live in Japan. It's like the as westernized as you can get for a Eastern country, and with it being a capitalist country as well. It's just interesting, that the vibe, as far as the concepts, the conflict with Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy, how they merge and convulge and become some kind of monster and diverge off into offshoots. But yeah, it's things that I wonder, has it overall been a good thing? I think a lot of people perceive it as that, it's financial success and economic success, but the values and things, would the people here say it's been worth it? Because there's a minority that hate foreigners and hate foreign things, even though they'll say that while they're recording on their iPhones. Ironic enough, but yeah, there's a lot to delve into that. But I might do some interviews in the future and ask you, what do you think? Was it really a good thing that America came and occupied? And make it some of that honne tatemae kind of thing, where they're saying what they want you to hear on the outside, but on the inside they're thinking other things. So cut some questions to cut through that filter and bullshit. But anyways, let's get up out of here. It's interesting, video, but yeah. Like the other countries that got out of here, I'm gonna split. Like, comment, share, subscribe if you like.